You talk a lot about climbing the ladder, and
we talk about humans thinking that they're climbing a ladder. We never encourage you to get on one. Beam me up, Scotty.
Or the ideal of you can't go from a non-satisfied place to a satisfied place without taking the baby steps or first becoming general. Well, in that thought of getting from, example, angry, mad, or any state of not satisfied to hope is good. Is there a more effective way besides the daily practice of said meditation, said aligning, said refocusing, to get to that state from hope to knowing/believing, in the ideal that believing is a thought that you keep thinking? So what's the most effective way to get from I've jumped to hope, now I want to get to the knowing of it, the believing of it, where I'm out ahead of it before it has manifested in my life?
It's a really good question. The most important thing that we want to say to you is that you are where you are. So if something has happened and you're having a reaction to it, you are vibrationally where you are. And anything that you can do to improve the way you feel right now is effective. And it has to be enough because it's all you can do. But today we're really emphasizing in this conversation the extraordinary difference between working your way up the emotional scale and quieting your mind and taking a quantum leap over there to where your inner being already is. It's standing back far enough to acknowledge that your inner being is there and that you are your inner being. And that you don't have to struggle your way up the emotional scale if you just let go. What are the words that we were offering? Satisfied. Being satisfied with yourself. I'm not mad at myself in this struggle right now. I know I would rather know than just hope. And I sure don't like to have doubt. But when you beat up on yourself about what you don't know, then you're not satisfied where you are. And now the gap is a harder one. And so it's just playing with it. Every day, Esther does focus wheels because every day she recognizes a vibration that could be better. And often a focus wheel will take her quickly there, especially if she catches it early. But there is nothing that gets her out ahead of it better than waking up, and before anything else happens, before she visits with someone, before she reads her email, before she starts receiving texts, before she remembers anything from before, if the first thing she does is set herself into a comfortable place and just quiet her mind and tune to the higher frequency, this day is dominantly better every single time. We just cannot emphasize that enough. Now, does that mean that the other tools are irrelevant? No, because you can't always go into meditation. Sometimes you got to deal with what's coming right at you. Sometimes you need to count to 10 and look for positive aspects in this arena or in this person where there is not one evident positive aspect. Sometimes you just don't want to make it worse, and sometimes you just want to walk away. You come to understand what works best for you, and sometimes it's this process, and sometimes it's this one, and sometimes it's this one, and sometimes it's this one. But you're at the vibrational place now. We can feel. You understand this. You are speaking our words and our processes back to us as well as Esther speaks them out to you. You're understanding this. And so what you're grappling with here a little bit is that you haven't been able to maintain always being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, as if you think that's the way it should be, and that's not ever the way it's going to be while you're here in this physical body. You're always going to have some gap. It's the way you feel about the gap that this conversation is about. So if you accept that you are always going to be, while you are in this physical form, you are always going to be incomplete and reaching for more, and that's all right with you, then so much of that angst will go away. Step 1 is full of all of that stuff. All of your creating is done in step 1. And step 1 is full of contrast. And all of your creating is done in step 1. And step 1 is full of contrast. And all of your creating is done in step 1. And step 1 is full of contrast. And all of your creating is done in step 1. And step 1 is full of contrast. Isn't it time that you give yourself a break, creator? and that you accept that step one is necessary to the creative process, and it's not something for me to be embarrassed about or ashamed of, or even something for me to overcome. Because if I didn't see this abhorrent thing, I wouldn't have put this magnificent thing into my vortex. And future generations would be deprived of the insight that this gave me to put there. And so it's about accepting the perfection of who you are. Humans, for so long, no matter what platform you were born into, have been taught for a long time to accept your imperfection and to repent for it and to overcome it. And we want you to embrace the contrast that produces the expansion, because we are eternal beings. We want you to find a way to love yourself no matter what, the way your inner being does. And in any moment that you're not doing that, it feels bad. That's what guilt feels like, or shame, or even hope has got a little flecks of that, not liking myself. And so when you look at the big picture and you feel the resonance that so many of you are feeling right now about who you really are and why you're here, and you get off that service kick, you're not here to fix a broken world. It is not broken. And you're not here to redeem yourself about something, because no redemption is being required. Your inner being accepts you as the perfect being that you are, perfect and ever changing. And nobody else needs to be fixed either. They all have their own relationship with their own reason for being here, and their own relationship with their own inner being. And yet, isn't it nice to feel strong about something? Isn't it nice for something to happen that makes you have a strong feeling about it? And there's nothing better than a contrasting experience making you feel strong about something than lining up with what you've created, lining up with the strong. And so when the world looks like it's coming apart, and your desire is not that it come together, because it will never come apart. Your desire is to know the perfection of this unfolding. If you were watching a play-by-play, we're talking about really slow time-lapse photography of a seed becoming in the ground, it would look chaotic to you as it gives way to the new, and 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 gives way to the new. In other words, if you were watching it infinitesimally, if you were watching the forming of a fetus in a mother's womb and the cellular evolution that is taking place, it would be unsettling to you in its perfection. And the same thing is happening with this magnificent being that you are continuing to become, and the world that you are sharing with others. Its perfection in its unfolding. You just got to decide that that's the way you see it, so that you feel ease about it, so that you're called to your becoming rather than prodding yourself there. And most of all, now we're going to get down to some nitty-gritty. If we were standing in your physical shoes, and this is really what we wish for you, this is our desire for you, we're going to speak it from your point of view. I want to talk to fewer people about stuff. I want to just be more generally accepting of what's going on, and stop sweating the small stuff ad nauseum. I want to step back and look at the perfection of this evolutionary time and space. This planet spinning in perfect proximity to other planets, and understanding the big thoughts that are part of that. And I want to tune into that big thinking that is trusting and loving and sure. I want to stand in the feeling of love mostly. And I will never appreciate the feeling of love within me more than when I've hated a little bit over here. And so I bless the rascals that I easily hate on my way to feeling the relief of coming into the wholeness of who I am. You all make too much of all of it. There's just nothing serious going on here. You came not for redemption or to save anything. You came because you're creators, and that's what creators do. And you came because it's joyful to create. And you came because when an idea hatches within you, it feels really good. And when that idea becomes more, that feels even better. And when you stand in a place of understanding how the cooperative components of the universe are all descending around you, that they are coming to you by the powerful law of attraction, and you are standing in full, vivid, lucid witnessing of the things that are coming together for you, and you're reveling in the perfection of life and of yourself, and you're feeling proud of yourself and eager for more. That's what you came for, you see. And you didn't come to teach anyone else a lesson or to get them there before they're ready to be there, any more than you would want to encourage that kernel of corn to come out and be a stalk and then an ear of corn before it's ready to be. In other words, you just accept the perfection of the process and do your best to make dominant the larger part of yourself who knows all of this. And you just revel in love and wince a little in hate, and revel in clarity and don't like confusion so much, and watch for the next opportunity and the next one and the next one and the next one. And your dominant mantra to the universe is, I am to live happily ever after. I am to live happily ever after. Not I'm to accomplish this and I'm to accomplish this. Because the goal that you're reaching for, the eternal symbol or recognition of success, is that joyful intertwining with who you are. And when you are in that conscious intertwining with who you are, when you are consciously intertwined with the consciousness that is you, that conscious intertwining, you are love for yourself, for the situation, for the others. That's just as good as it gets. In short, don't sweat the small stuff. And it all is. It all is. It all is. Everything that is of a physical nature is small stuff in relationship to the relationship that you have with this energy. So, now, we're not trying to talk you into leaving the physical and meditating yourself into this oblivion mist of non-physical. We're encouraging you to release enough resistance that you can feel you're tuned in, and then give your undivided attention to stuff that interests you here. Stuff that interests you here. Paint it and make the money and do the travel and make love to each other and enjoy the life that you are living. Enjoy the life that you're living. But do it from that place of connection to Source, because you haven't spent money until you've spent money with Source. And you haven't made love until you've made love with Source. And you haven't witnessed the beauty of the planet until you've done it in connection with Source. Get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and live like you intended to live.